The Jacob Zuma Foundation spokesperson, Mzwanele Manyi, says the findings of the State Capture Commission about the former president sought to influence proceedings in court. The report has found that Zuma enabled corruption and state capture. Manyi has hit out at its chairperson, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, who he claims is vengeful.
For him to go and talk about the issue of Arthur Fraser and the whole parole thing, on the 15th of August, we are in court on the same matter. So basically for us as a foundation, we see this judge as sending a coded message to the SCA that you must find against Arthur Fraser's decision, as it were. This is because this man is so vengeful. In other words, he is still angry that President Zuma did not spend 15 months in jail as yet ordered to do so. You know, but the bottom line here is that the matter is pending before courts and it's got no business to be dabbling in those matters.
Well, then the Jacob Zuma Foundation has also said that it will lay a complaint against the Commission's chairperson, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, over his alleged conduct with the Judicial Service Commission. Let's talk about this now with Judges Matter researcher Mbekezeli Benjamin. Mbekezeli, good to have you on the program as always. So the former president's foundation says it wants to go to the JSC to get an investigation launched into the Chief Justice Raymond Zondo's conduct for alleged bias and breaches of the Constitution. How would that work?
Good afternoon, Tembile, and to the viewers at home. Well, it is well within President Zuma's rights to file a complaint against Judge Zondo for any number of allegations that he thinks are necessary. But I think what's important here is that the Judicial Service Commission would not be able to investigate any allegation of misconduct in the way that Judge Zondo ran the commission unless there is a finding by a court to say that he did something that he was not supposed to do. That is, Justice Zondo did something that he was not supposed to do. Because ordinarily, the JSC will only investigate if there was a question of misconduct by the judge, and to say that you disagree with the findings of a commission or to say that they are irrational doesn't necessarily mean that the judge has misconducted himself. So I can't see this complaint holding any water.
So you touched on something very important there, how difficult it might be to prove bias. Yes, it's one thing for the JSC to perhaps be the wrong forum for that conversation as relates to the inquiry, but let's say if it were to be pursued through a court, where would he even begin to prove that there was a bias?
So you would need to put up some concrete evidence to show that Judge Zondo is biased towards against him in some other way. He has in the past said that they have a previous relationship that sort of is the source of the bias, but I honestly don't see that as credible. In fact, it was President Zuma who appointed Judge Zondo as the chairperson of the commission, and he was the one who established the commission. He was very happy to come before Judge Zondo and testify until at some point he realized that he could not or did not want to testify anymore, and which is when he brought up the claims of bias. So we have to note that kind of context when we are assessing the kinds of claims that President Zuma is making.
So the foundation... the foundation is also charged that the chairperson of the inquiry basically went into a political space when he suggested in the report that we perhaps relook as a country the way in which a president is elected. Now, does that amount to interference or just a commission and its chairperson misdirecting themselves and going above the scope of what the inquiry was meant to achieve?
Well, I think to answer that question, we need to take a step back. We need to understand what is the point of a commission of inquiry. And we must be careful not to call it a judicial commission of inquiry, because there's no such thing as a judicial commission of inquiry. The commission is appointed by the president when he or she wants to investigate some issue of national importance. And in this case, it was state capture and how it manifested itself. Justice Zondo was also tasked with making recommendations of how in future state capture can be prevented. So he was given a free hand to investigate and make recommendations, which he has done. To say that you are not happy with those recommendations is one thing, but to say that they amount to judicial misconduct, I think is quite another, and I think it's just not credible.
So the foundation and the former president basically is going for Zondo across multiple avenues, right? So there's the issue with what happened at the inquiry, but there's also a possible legal challenge, they say, against his appointment as Chief Justice of the country. I think the Commission went as far as to say his performance in the interviews was dismal and showed incompetence. That's just some of the language I believe was used at the time to describe it. As far as that's concerned, is it even possible at this stage?
Well, technically it is possible, but practically I don't think it will move forward, because the Constitution gives the President quite a wide prerogative when it comes to the appointment of the Chief Justice. The fact that he is required to consult the JSC doesn't mean that he necessarily needs to agree with what the JSC recommends. And so in this case, the JSC recommended one candidate, but the President decided to go with another candidate. That does not show irrationality. So the Jacob Zuma Foundation would need to put up quite strong evidence to show that there was some other nefarious reason why Justice Zondo was appointed as Chief Justice, and that would make the President's decision irrational in terms of the law. But from where we're sitting, I just don't see that. But I think all of this, Mbekezeli, as you say, there are a litany of allegations now that are being made from all kinds of political quarters. I think this requires of us as a country to reconsider the usefulness of putting judges to head up these commissions. There is no requirement in terms of the law for judges to head up these commissions, and it puts them in an awkward situation now that they have to defend themselves politically against political attacks, when judges should never ever find themselves in that position. So we as Judges Matter are calling for a reconsideration of appointing judges to head up these commissions.
So who would be most suitable then, especially when you're dealing with the volume of allegations as the state capture inquiry was dealing with, and the various legal aspects as to what could be said, protection of witnesses, etc.?
Well, the reason why you appoint a judge is that you want to use their forensic skill and their ability to analyze large volumes of information. A lawyer, a senior lawyer, can do that if they can get a senior counsel to investigate that. As we have seen, for example, in KZN, the political killings were done by Advocate Mwirani. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was chaired by Archbishop Tutu. That commission dealt with large volumes of complex information. So there is now no special skill that a judge has that may not be found in any other person. So we are calling for a relook at that appointment, and maybe try and consider a broader range of skills and broader range of people to appoint to chair commissions of inquiry.
Mbekezeli Benjamin, always good to have your thoughts. Thank you very much.